Welcome to Salute to the Ears, where my family and I discuss everything Disney, from parks, food, and rides to travel tips, movies, and more. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Salute to the Ears. I am your host, Jeremy Simon.
And I'm Erica.
And we are back from our most recent trip to Disney World. And we have a lot to discuss.
Oh my gosh, we have so much to talk about with it.
Right. I mean, it's so many new things that we got to do.
I really was surprised how much we ended up fitting in less than a week.
Right. Right. And this is the first time we've gone back when it's been hot.
Oh man. I mean, I don't know what's worse, being there when it's cold and feeling like you don't want to do things, you don't want to get wet because it's cold, and being there when it's colder, or melting.
Right.
I really don't know what's
worse.
Yeah, because they both have disadvantages, but
October is good.
October is really good.
It's not too hot. It's not too cold. It's a good time to go. But now everybody's going in October.
I know, it's shifted. We do have a lot to talk about as far as our overall trip. And in upcoming episodes, we're going to be talking about our resorts. And we did a split stay this time.
Right.
So we have 2 resorts to talk about, 2 deluxe resorts. We want to talk about all the new shows and new rides.
New rides.
New rides. Oh, man, you guys.
Good.
So good. If you know, you know, and it's so good.
Right.
Restaurants. We got to eat at some new restaurants this time that we haven't eaten at before, and some we love.
Yeah, some that really kind of surprised me.
We also, if you follow us on Twitter and Instagram, you know that our trip drastically shifted at the end, and there was a lot that happened in the last 36 hours that we were in Florida.
Right.
And so we do want to talk about all of that, but today we want to talk about transportation. And so I am going to touch a little bit at the end of this episode about what happened on our trip, because it does pertain to transportation.
A little bit.
They're connected. But mostly today we want to talk about transportation. And that started with an Dark 30 flight.
05. It's when the plane was supposed to take off, was
5:05 in the morning.
Right.
We did not take off.
No.
At 5 o'clock in the morning.
No.
Because the fuel tanks were down at Kansas City International Airport.
They went to go reset them, and some reason the ones at our gate didn't come back up. So we had to wait on a truck.
So we had to wait on a fuel truck to come fuel our plane, despite the fact that we were one of the very first flights out of KCI for the day.
Right.
For regular passengers, not just cargo. So, okay. So we were delayed about 30 minutes.
Right.
We sat at the gate.
Those pilots went full throttle on the way down. When we landed, we were 5 minutes late.
Yeah. They definitely made up some time. They found some good air, and we made up time. So our day actually started, alarms started going off at our house at 2 in the morning.
It was early.
And that is good to know, because that pertains to the end of our trip as well. But our day started at 2 in the morning when the alarm started going off, and we were at the airport by 3:30, or we left at 3.
No, I had you guys dropped off
at 3:30.
At the latest 3:15, 3:30. We left the house
3:30, I think. Anyway,
3:30,
4 a.m. or we got everybody checked in. You came over. We were waiting on you to come over from parking. I mean, it was just it was such an early morning, and there were so many of us who were so excited, and obviously going all to the same place. It was actually really fun. We ran into one of Jackson's teachers.
Yeah.
One of his favorite teachers.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that was really fun that we were on the same flight and going to the same place. And
and it was a very full flight.
Yeah.
They always are going to Orlando.
Southwest was great, though, as far as making up that time in the air and trying to keep us all informed of what was happening and all of that. So no complaints there. We did get through all of that easily. We got to MCO. We got to Orlando International Airport, went downstairs and got our bags.
Yeah, because everybody has to get your own bags
Have
now.
to get your own bags. There's no such thing as Magical Express anymore.
Yeah.
And then it got a little weird.
It did get kind of weird and...
Frustrating?
Frustrating, yeah. I think we had pretty high hopes. And we decided we were going to take Sunshine Flyer this time because we liked what we had been seeing. Mm-hmm. And it was a little underwhelming.
So one of the things you need to remember, a lot of us do fly Southwest going to Orlando, especially those of us from the Midwest.
Right.
A lot of us use Southwest to fly into Orlando. One thing you need to remember is both Mears Connect and Sunshine Flyer are on the B terminal side. If you fly Southwest, you are going to come into Orlando International on the A gate side, right? The A terminal side. So you have to go downstairs, get your bags on the baggage claim level, then go back upstairs and go across the terminal, like in between the terminals, across the lobby, which is really beautiful. And it's fine. It's nice space, but it's a lot when you're like, I want to go. And go back across, go to B, go all the way down to the transportation level, all the way at the bottom.
Right.
And then walk all the way down to the end where Sunshine Flyer is.
Very end.
So our email with information said that we needed to meet them, or our text said that we needed to meet them at B3. We were looking for them at the B3 stand. Literally the very
end.
It's the entrance point of where the buses and things come in to that space. There's no signage.
No signage. There's no, like, hey, you wait in this lane, you wait in this lane. Like, we had seen with Magical Express, and, like, Mears is still doing, of, like, you wait in lane 6, this is going to be your bus. It's going to take you to Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Right.
That wasn't there.
There's no place to sit. There's no benches anywhere close. It feels like you are, because of being on the end there, it feels very, what is the word? I'm like warehouse. Like you're just like,
right.
It feels junky. It does not feel.
There's no organization to it.
It doesn't feel finished. It doesn't feel like there's no.
It felt like it was put up in a hurry.
Yeah. And it was to some degree.
But now, it's been going long enough to where some of these things should be ironed out.
So we ended up on a bus with 3 other resorts.
Right.
We were the 4th resort stop.
We were going to Animal Kingdom Lodge.
We went to
Old Key West.
Yep.
We went to Grand Floridian.
Yes.
We went to
Beach Club? Was that the other one?
Possibly.
I think it was Beach Club.
I think it may
was
have
Old
been.
Key West, Beach Club, Grand Floridian, and then Grand Floridian, and then back down out to
Animal Kingdom
Lodge.
Right.
Every one of those stops had one person or one family that they were dropping off.
Right.
That was it. There wasn't multiple families for those stops. There wasn't multiple people.
Our bus was not even half full.
Bus was not half full. There were. I didn't even put. I will be posting the pictures of this with a posted review. We had broken seats.
Yep.
Broken armrests. The TVs were not playing Sunshine Flyer's little, their normal thing. We actually watched Coco. It just felt like we've ridden lots of coach buses with, being Young Life leaders and going to Young Life camp. We've ridden those many times.
Right.
It just felt like getting on a normal, like, rented coach bus that has been used and used and used and used, and there was no level of excellence. That's what I was looking for earlier.
Right.
There was no level of excellence when it came to how everything was done.
I agree.
But yeah, we didn't watch Sunshine Flyer's little spiel about, like, where we were going, like what, safety information. Our driver was nice, but there was nothing about it that was
magical.
Yeah.
There was no magic to it, from going down and checking in at a podium, which was sitting outside, like underneath the awning, yes, but if you can have people sit inside, like we did with Magical Express or Mears, where there's AC going on, especially during this time of year. Like,
and there's space there.
There is. Like, if you go a little ways inside, there's like chairs in there where you can sit, but there's space for them in order to set it up to where you're waiting in lines in the AC rather than sitting outside on the concrete in
now,
the heat.
what we don't know is that MCO not allowing that,
It could be.
or
Could
wanting to, they would need to charge for that, or what, like, I don't know what's happening there with that, and maybe they're working on it, and I hope that they are, and I hope that the technology aspect of this gets better as far as communication between you and them and checking in, and it definitely was difficult in that regard, especially the fact that there is just no place to sit, and there isn't any place really to sit for Mears Connect either.
No,
but
at least you're inside in the AC, where in June and July and August when it's hot out, you're not sweating.
You are. You're under an awning, and it's. So it's shaded. It's not. You're not out in the sun, but you know, it just. Right. We were underwhelmed from the get-go with Sunshine Express. So here is what I will say about taking it. One, we were right at our under an hour. Yeah. One of their guarantees is that they will have you there in under an hour. Now, if you go from checking in with them to getting to your resort, we were well over an hour. We were almost an hour and a half.
Because we had to wait like 20, 30 minutes for the bus to even get
so
there.
We were about an hour and a half with that. If you go by when you get on the bus, we were still right at an hour because we stopped at 3 other resorts. And not 3 resorts that are like close. Because that was one thing that I feel like Mears Connect Magical Express does better, or at least they did with Magical Express, was that those buses were limited to... You're going to this resort and this resort and this resort. So even if you went to 3, they were all right there. Right. Ours literally were 2 that were Disney Springs, Epcot-ish, like side, like.
Right. No,
right?
we weren't
terribly far apart.
Yeah.
We went all the way up to Grand Floridian and then all the way back down and over for us to get to Animal Kingdom Lodge. So I'm very grateful that we did not have something specific to get to for lunch or anything like that. We wouldn't have made it. We did use the buses after that.
Right. Yeah, and I've made it's no secret that I'm not a big fan of the buses. Yeah. But I feel like this time the buses were much improved.
So overall, right now, based on our experience from MCO, from Orlando International to our resort, I would say we are not recommending Sunshine Flyer.
No. The best thing about Sunshine Flyer is the fact that the outside of the bus is fun. Yeah. It kind of stops
now,
there.
I do have other things to say with that. We did have a mixed experience going back. Right. I want to talk about that later at the end of this because there's a lot with that and with what changed with the end of our trip. But so let's talk about once we got to our resort, we did switch to the buses. And at that point, because we were traveling with my dad, he did have an ECV, motorized scooter that he was using. And so that played into how we got around Disney.
It pretty much eliminated the ability to be able to use Uber or Lyft. Right. Like it had to be buses. And
monorail and Skyliner.
Right.
Disney transportation.
Right. But from Animal Kingdom Lodge, it had to be buses because that's all there is. Right. So we've run into the problem before when you're stuck at a resort that only has buses where you're waiting a long time for some of those buses. Yeah. To get there. Like if you're waiting for Hollywood Studios and sure enough it seems like you got 3 Magic Kingdom showing up. This time I don't remember ever feeling like that. I felt like they were running smoother.
the video boards were better updated and
I
were
think so.
more accurate.
Right.
Most of the time, the buses showed up earlier than what they were posted times for, but the video boards at each bus stop really was helpful to give us an idea of, okay, yep, you did just miss a bus, but the next one is coming.
Right. And when we caught that bus was not like a peak time to be going to the park because we were getting there like noon. Mm-hmm. But we still didn't have to wait very long at all. Matter of fact, I think it was pulling up when we were walking down there. I mean, that was... And
granted, we were staying in Animal Kingdom Lodge. It was the first resort we stayed at. And our first park that we went to was Animal Kingdom. So, yes, you would hope that the bus that is running the most from Animal Kingdom Lodge is probably going to be to Animal Kingdom because of proximity. It's going to be the fastest turnaround of those buses. So, it's going to be the easiest one to catch. But we did. We got right on. We got to the park. And, you know, that was fine. We never really had an issue the entire trip with Disney bus transportation.
No.
The only hiccup we had with Disney bus transportation, and this has been a complaint from a lot of people, and I understand it from a logistics standpoint as far as, you know, when you're down staffing, you're down, you know, but like I do understand it, but at the same time, it was very frustrating. And that is the fact that you cannot get to Typhoon Lagoon without going to Disney Springs from any Disney resort.
Right. So there's no direct bus from a resort to Typhoon Lagoon.
Correct. And here is one of the other things that I noticed is that, like, so when you take the bus back from Typhoon Lagoon, where Disney buses drop off at, you have to go around the gates that they put up.
Right. Because you have to go to Disney Springs.
Yeah.
Right. You have to go from your resort or from Typhoon Lagoon to Disney Springs to catch another bus.
But they don't pull up into the parking spots where like they're going to pick up from for like individual places. So Disney Springs has a whole bus barn. I mean, I don't know what else to, like the awnings that have all the little queues for each place that it's going, right? And so they have one for each resort or for each set resorts, you know, like some of them are grouped together, but you don't pick it up, like get dropped off there and pick up there the way that you do at like Magic Kingdom or Epcot or you get dropped off
and
at this like circle entrance and you have to walk around and then go find the bus for Typhoon Lagoon or your resort or whatever, and it added lots of time.
It did, and we actually got lucky with the fact that the day we went was, one, the coolest day while we were there, and two,
by far,
it was also supposed to be rainy, stormy that day, and we didn't know for sure what was going to happen, and I think that's what a lot of people thought, so they decided not to go to Typhoon Lagoon.
Yeah. Well, and it did. The first part of the morning was off and on, very rainy. Cloudy, cooler. Like,
when we first got there, it was pouring.
There was nobody there when we first got there, which was kind of nice for the fact that, like, we did rent a cabana for being there, which was huge help. And I will, if you can swing that and do it and plan that for your stay, do it. It is totally worth it.
Yep.
But the thing that like really tripped us up was having to go back to Disney Springs to go back to our resort. Now, the only thing that helped us with was the fact that the day we went to Typhoon Lagoon was our split stay switch day. So say that 6 times fast. We were going from Animal Kingdom Lodge that day to Wilderness Lodge. Yep. And so we had already sent our luggage via Bell Services. They will still transport your luggage for you between resorts if you are doing a split stay. You drop it off with Bell Services, tell them you're switching resorts to a different one, and they tag it and ship it on its way. And then you pick it up from Bell Services at the other end. And actually, they'll bring it to your room on the other end when you call them. But so it did help us in the fact that, like, we weren't having to try to, like, We just knew we were going from Typhoon Lagoon back to Disney Springs, and then we would just get on the Wilderness Lodge bus. Like, we didn't have to figure out anything else with that. We didn't have to.
The big problem people are running into with this, it's not like, hey, here's the Typhoon Lagoon bus for Animal Kingdom. It's just, here's the Typhoon Lagoon bus for all the resorts. Mm-hmm. And people are showing up whenever it's hot and sunny out, and it's 60, 70, 80 people deep, and everyone trying to get on this bus and get over to Typhoon Lagoon, because that's the only way to get there, unless you're driving or getting an Uber.
So I would say if you have plans to go to Typhoon Lagoon during your stay, our recommendation right now is to go ahead and call an Uber if you can before Typhoon Lagoon opens.
Or a minivan.
Minivans are coming back. They have done a soft opening. Super excited to try those out in August. Mm-hmm. We'll give you our review of those when Jeremy and I are back in August. But they get an Uber if you can.
Yep.
If you can, swing that cabana, because getting that cabana and having that cabana rental already
it guarantees your entry.
It guarantees your entry into the park. So that's one of those advantages to it. On top of the fact that depending on if you get the cabana, it's not just the umbrellas. Like, you get the refillable drink things and it was
good. It was
great.
It was fun. Yeah.
Highly recommend it. Loved our hostess. She was amazing.
Yeah.
And but take an Uber if you can, and you need to be there and plan to be at the gate for Typhoon Lagoon during the summer, like when it's hot.
Yeah. Get there early.
Least be planning on being there like a good hour, 45 minutes before they open at least.
Yeah. This park is notorious for reaching capacity, and then they reevaluate again at like 12 or 1. Mm-hmm. And then I think they might do it again a little bit later to let people in. But if it's at capacity, you're not getting in.
One of your other options for that as far as capacity, I know this isn't transportation related, but it kind of is, because it may eliminate some of the headache of it, is if you aren't necessarily interested in being out there when it's hot and sunny, like maybe that's too much for you. You're like, I don't want to just lay in the sun all day. Right now on Saturday nights, most Saturday nights, they have the H2O Glow Night parties happening. See if you can snag tickets to those, or an event like that, where you can get in at 6 p.m. Right now it's still very daylight out, still very hot at 6 p.m. And the party starts at 8 and goes to like 11 and looks amazing and super fun. So, and you can also rent cabanas during that as well.
Yep, you can. And short lines. Everyone likes short lines. Now, another couple forms of transportation that we did, not necessarily to get to the parks or to our hotel, but breaks during the day.
Yeah.
Which turned out to be pretty nice. We used the monorail and the Skyliner. Mm-hmm. We like them both. It's always part of our trip. Like, we have to get on there at some point.
Yeah. Now
it's more specifically the Skyliner. Like, we like the Skyliner, so we took it over to Riviera.
We actually ended up getting dinner over there.
Yeah.
We'd had kind of an off day, and we had been at was that our Hollywood Studios day?
Was it? I don't remember now. I don't remember if it was that or Epcot.
But anyway, it worked out to being really, really, it ended up being just a really nice way to kind of like, okay.
Take a breath.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
And we love the Skyliner. It is one of our favorite forms of transportation. And again, it does take us a little bit longer to get on and off. Same with the buses because of having that ACV. However, I would say we never waited for the Skyliner.
No, we had to wait a little bit going from Riviera back to Hollywood Studios. Because we had one in front of us. And a lot of those are already full by the time they get to Riviera. So we had to wait a little bit then, but it still wasn't too bad. Like, we had a lightning lane or something we had to get to. And we were able to do that with no real issues. I mean, we had to hurry up a little bit, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. But it's a good way to kind of relax. It's peaceful.
Was that when we were trying to get back to Rise? had to have been our Hollywood Studios Day. We were trying to get back for our Rise.
Yeah.
Because they had just called our
boarding group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were.
Yeah, we were
that was
kind of hustling back a little bit.
We were booking it for that one. But it worked out, and we love that. We also did use the monorail. We used it to go from the Contemporary to.
We went all the way around Epcot. We did the full loop. We went to Epcot.
Well, we used it once another day. We used it on our.
Did we?
We used
it one time with your dad.
Break.
Yeah,
we used it once as a
break, and then one time after we ate at Steakhouse 71 and
for breakfast,
and then went over to Epcot. But yeah, we used it as a break during our Magic Kingdom day, and went around, which was nice because then we got to see some of the construction updates.
Yes.
That was our first look at Guardians. Jackson needed a break. He was spent at that point. I think he was falling asleep on that ride, but was good. Like, it was fine. Like, it really wasn't that big of a deal. So it was a good way to just kind of get a view of Epcot and some of the other things going on, and a nice little break, especially during the heat of the day.
Even though you're talking about being there during a really busy time of year, and it was busy. Every park day that we had was very full. None of those forms of transportation, I think we had a couple of buses like at the end of the night or like first thing in the morning that were pretty packed.
Yeah.
But even then, it wasn't unbearable. We've been on more packed buses than that before, and felt way more sardined in there. And same thing with the monorail. But it did not feel like that at all. And even using the Skyliner. No. Now, again, we did not use the Skyliner like first thing in the morning when everybody's trying to get to the park or anything like that. But we really did not have any major issues using those. And they're such a nice way to take a break.
Right.
Another form of transportation that you can use as a break, or you can use to get to certain resorts and certain parks, is the ferries.
Right. And we were able to use that because we were staying at Wilderness Lodge.
So we actually used the ferry from Wilderness Lodge to Magic Kingdom. And that was actually really nice. I mean, those are smaller boats.
Right. It was, maybe 10 minutes at most?
Yeah.
And depending on who your skipper is, can be pretty good. Like, we had some that really didn't say a whole lot. And we had one who was spouting off facts and pirate jokes and...
Well, I will say one of them was the end of the night, and one of them was the beginning in the morning.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
That's probably one of the big differences there, is the end of the night one was being very respectful of the fact that everybody is like tired and done.
Right. Now, we did not take these with your dad and his scooter.
No.
You can do that, but you have to wait for certain boats.
There are certain boats that have the capacity to take wheelchairs and ECVs. Now you can take a folded stroller onto the smaller ferry boats the same way that you can onto a bus, but you're folding that up and storing that. You're not riding with kids on it.
Yep.
So it is possible to get back and forth even if you you are in a wheelchair full time or you're using an ECV. So that was really nice that you can still do that, but be prepared to wait if you're trying to get access with that.
And if you time it right at night like we did, you can see the electric water pageant.
Yep. Which
was nice because we hadn't really seen it. Definitely haven't seen this version of it.
No. I've seen versions of it before.
Right. And so it was nice kind of coming out to the ferry, and you see that out there, and you're like, oh, what is that? And you're like, oh, that's what that is. And it was kind of a nice little way to end the night.
The large ferries that take you from Magic Kingdom to the Ticket and Transportation Center. Those are very large boats that have you have benches to sit on and places to stand. And whereas these ones are small boats that you sit the entire time, and you are... it is much more like just choppy riding it can be a little choppy riding in a boat depending on, they try really hard to keep it steady, but understand that if you are someone who is prone to motion sickness, especially motion sickness in a boat, that may not be the best form of transportation for you. Right.
No, and it was fun because especially the last one we had, he was spouting off facts of how these were originally designed as sailboats, and they were the most common sailboat at the time, and Walt got a good deal on them, and had them turned in first day. We're using steam engines, and
Yeah.
some of these same boats are still being used. They've just been updated and well maintained, and
No,
it
he was
good.
great. And
Yeah.
just talking about the different resorts that you pass, because you do pass through right by the Contemporary, and he was talking about Polly, and I mean, like, we learned all kinds of facts and
lots of pirate jokes.
And lots of pirate jokes. So that was really fun. Some of those may have to come out at Halloween when I have my pirate set up, but that was definitely great.
That was my favorite form of transportation, without a doubt, getting to the park and getting to Magic Kingdom. Like,
especially from Wilderness Lodge. I mean, it's the setting and everything from it's really pretty the whole time. And you get to go over a water bridge, which is really cool. I mean, that's a really, like, the highway goes underneath you, like, while you're taking that ferry. So
so that was fun. For me, that rivals taking the Skyliner. It's a good way to start off your day at Magic Kingdom, and you can do that from Poly, and you can also do it from Grand Floridian. We've taken one to Grand Floridian before, and then over to Wilderness. And those 3 hotels are the ones you can
to Magic Kingdom.
You can also do it going to Hollywood, and can you do it going to Epcot?
Yes, Epcot you can from.
I know
Boardwalk Out and Beach.
I think the same ones will also take you to Hollywood.
You also have options to Disney Springs at certain resorts too, ferry wise. It really is a nice way, but again, if you are someone who is highly sensitive to motion sickness, especially on the water, you may want to avoid that, just because those ferries to and from the resorts are small boats. They are not. I mean, we had 30 people on those ones back and forth to Wilderness. So I mean, it's not. You're not talking about a large, whereas the ones that go back and forth from Magic Kingdom to Ticket and Transportation are actually scaled replicas of Staten Island ferries. Right. So they hold a lot. They hold a couple hundred people, versus, 30 or.
I think the last thing I want to say on these is the fact that if you're in a hurry to get to the park, this may not be the best way for you to go, because they're not going until that boat's more or less full.
Right.
So if you're the first one on there, you may be waiting another 10 minutes before you're going.
Right.
So it may be, if you're really in a hurry to get to the park, it may be a better idea to take the bus, because it's still just a very short bus ride over there.
Yeah, that really wasn't a problem. Right. We did take it. I mean, we did do both forms of transportation from Wilderness, and they were.
Right.
They both were very quick. I mean, so there wasn't a thing. The only thing I will say about taking the bus from Wilderness Lodge to Magic Kingdom, was it to Magic Kingdom? You stop at Fort Wilderness at the campgrounds.
No, that was when we were going to Epcot.
Oh, Epcot.
Right.
So going to Epcot, you do stop. That bus goes to Fort Wilderness as well.
Right.
Whereas all the other buses are split between the two, and they have their own bus route.
Right.
The Epcot one does not. The Epcot one goes to Fort Wilderness, and that is your way. That is the bus that you pick up if you want to go be dropped off at Fort Wilderness for something. If you're hoop-de-doo, if you're going to do the trail rides or something at the barn.
Right.
That is how you get over there, is taking that bus. So just as a heads up. So the last thing we need to talk about is our trip back with Sunshine Flyer and changes that had to be made to our trip. So our trip did get delayed coming home by a day. Almost exactly. We ended up on the same flight just a day later.
Right.
Almost the exact same pickup time with Sunshine Flyer, just 24 hours later. We had a medical emergency happen on what should have been our last day in Epcot. I will say this, and we are going to talk more about this, but Disney took great care of us.
Cast members are awesome.
We had some of the most amazing cast members, and even other people that just were in line with us.
Right.
So totally taken care of. They're totally there's a lot to talk about with that. However, the only thing I want to touch on is it did change what we need to do with transportation. I'm going to say 2 things. Get travel insurance.
Yes.
We lucked out that it didn't impact us.
Right.
That much, anyway. But get get travel insurance, use a travel agent.
Yeah.
We have an amazing one that we will always recommend. Our friend Lori is our favorite, and I will forever recommend her. She was super helpful despite the fact that she had just
gotten home on her own
gotten
trip.
home from her own trip and had just gotten off of work and
Right.
Was getting over, or no, she wasn't at work. She wasn't
feeling so hot.
She wasn't feeling so hot after her trip.
They're just able to do things for you and take some of that pressure off of you whenever something like this happens.
Lori with Magical Enchanted Vacations.
There we go.
And I wanted to say enchantment. I'm like, that's not right. It's not enchantment. Enchanted Vacations. I will link her in the show notes, but she was amazing and so helpful in helping us figure out what we needed to, who we needed to call and what we needed to do. I ended up being the one to call Southwest.
Right.
And once I got through to somebody on Southwest, it was about 5-10 minutes and I had all of our flights changed.
Right.
Despite the fact that we had 3 different confirmation numbers between the 5 of us.
Right.
And was no problem. They didn't charge me a dime.
Right.
Shout out to Southwest for helping us out and making that change for us. And they were fantastic.
Right. They were fantastic. Sunshine Flyer, on the other hand, they started off great.
Yeah.
First guy I talked to said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you're having to go through this. Yeah, we'll get you taken care of. We'll take you off of the bus today. Call me as soon as you can, whenever you know what's going on, and we will get you picked up. Like, this is not going to be an issue."
At that point, we were not sure, when you initially called Sunshine Flyer, we were not sure if we were leaving the next day or not.
Right. We weren't for sure if we were going to have to stay overnight or what was going on. We thought for sure, or we thought we were not going to be able to make that bus that night.
Which was true.
Right.
We were not. You guys might have, you and the kids might have, but I would not have.
Right. So he was fantastic, and he said, "Call us as soon as you know what's going on. We'll make it happen. We'll do what we got to do."
Yeah.
So that's what I did. Once we knew what was going on, that we were leaving the following day, same flight, everything, I called him back. Got somebody else, and she did not understand what was going on whatsoever. Had to explain it to her multiple times, and that I had already talked to somebody. She had trouble pulling up the reservation. And then I got put on hold multiple times for 10, 15 minutes each time. And then she came back with, "We're going to pick you up at this time." We're like, well, that's...
We would not have... Now, our flight ended up delayed.
Yeah,
we would have likely...
We would have been okay.
We would have been okay with the original time that they gave us.
Right.
But the original time that they gave us would have only been 2 hours and 20 minutes before our flight. Now, if you go by what they say on their website, what their goal, all of that, that would not have been enough time.
Right.
And we would have been booking it.
Right.
Through security, all of that.
Right. I explained to her multiple times what time our flight was, and she kept hearing a different time. Instead of 9:50 or 8:55, she kept hearing 9:55.
Yeah.
And after getting it straight with what time the flight was, then put on hold again so that she could tell us, okay, they're going to be there at this time.
So here's one of the problems. That flight has the same flight number.
Uh-huh.
And that flight, when we were talking to them, had not taken off yet.
Right.
For the night. And the current flight that night was also delayed. And so there was an issue there. I think that was part of the confusion. But I don't think it was all of it.
No.
It was definitely, out of all of the things we had to change and all of the things that shifted and all of the things we needed to do, they were by far the most difficult one to manage.
Right. And that's even including your dad's scooter.
Oh, yeah.
I ended up having to turn in.
Yeah.
Like, that company was fantastic as well. They're like, don't worry about taking it back to the resort. Like, leave it there. We're coming to get it.
They came and picked it up from Epcot. Epcot, scooter rental at Epcot actually took it for us and stored it for them to come pick up. Again, Disney, cast members, guest relations.
Right.
So amazing. I wish we had more names of more of the people that helped us because...
Right. Yeah. I still remember Chris and Donna.
Yeah. We have a few, but like they really were incredible. Now, we got Sunshine Flyer did come pick us up to go back to MCO, to go back to Orlando International Airport from Wilderness Lodge.
Right.
I got a call from them at about 5 p.m. They were scheduled to pick us up at 5:30.
Right.
And I got a call that said, "Are you going to be ready to go? I'm going to be there early."
Yeah.
So they showed up about 15 minutes, 20 minutes early.
Yeah.
Compared to our original pickup time. And so we're scrambling to grab our stuff because we had just started we thought we still had about 30 minutes.
Right.
So we were just starting to go to Bell Services to get our bags and get those checked out.
Mm-hmm.
Bell Services, that's a whole other, that'll be part of our resort.
Our
breakdown.
resort review, yeah.
The gist is one of our bags ended up going to Winter Garden.
Yeah.
And so I ended up having to wait at MCO for that bag.
Right.
The driver that we had for this Sunshine Flyer was very, very nice.
Yeah.
The bus was very, very nice.
This was a much
brand new.
newer.
Yep.
None of the seats were broke.
You had the information from Sunshine Flyer playing on the videos.
And then the entertainment was interesting.
I did like the questions.
Yeah.
It did have some trivia questions happening, and I liked those a lot.
And we're talking some very old animation, which was kind of fun, but...
At the same time, some of the animation that was being shown in today's...
You can't get away with that.
Yeah.
If that were to come out today, I don't know that it would...
I wasn't... Again, it felt like... What's the cheapest ones that we can buy the rights to show?
Right.
And versus being something now, their whole thing is this the 1920s, 1930s, old trains, glam. So the cartoons are of a similar era.
Right.
And I get that. I get the theming aspect there. It didn't fit.
No.
It doesn't fit. It's not, we had big kids, and while they don't want babyish stuff either,
right?
I think you could still do better,
right? No, and I understand. One of the big cartoons that they were playing was old school. It looked like the same kind of locomotive, and that's kind of what they were going for. I get it. It was rough.
Yeah, it was not very entertaining. And granted, we were exhausted.
Right.
It had been a very long, like I said, 36 hours of stuff. We were just at that point of wanting to be home. We were in the process of dealing with trying to find this one piece of luggage and figure out what was happening with that. And on the phone with Bell Services and that, I still, even though that driver was very, very kind.
Yeah.
He did a great job. The bus was much nicer. All of those things were better. Right. If that had been our experience the whole time, I think we would have a different review of Sunshine Flyer.
But even with that, it still felt like it was missing magic. And I don't know how they're going to be able to get that magic like what we had before.
But even then, that wasn't. I mean, there were issues.
Yeah, there were
too. There's some of the same things that we don't like about Sunshine Flyer. We didn't like about Magical Express either.
Right.
So it's not exclusive. It just, I think we had held and had such high expectations because when you look at the material that they are putting out of what they're doing. When you look at their Instagram, when you look at their website, when you look at their reviews, when you look at their stuff and you go, wow, this is going to be great.
Right.
This is going to be so fantastic. And it was so underwhelming for us.
Yeah.
That's where I just go,
Yeah.
Okay.
And some of that stuff they should be able to fix.
Yes.
And
I do
it would
anticipate
get better.
those getting
Right.
better.
And it may get better as it goes, but some of those things should have been taken care of before it even started.
So here's what I'm going to say. As far as the price point, you don't have a huge price point difference between using Sunshine Flyer and using Mears Connect right now.
Right. Well, Sunshine Flyer now has a big sale going on, so they're cheaper.
They do have a big sale going on. Kids are
free.
Kids are free during the summer right now. But overall, their standard price, like when you look at their standard pricing, it's not a big difference.
Yeah.
Granted, we did not use Mears Connect. However, from all of our friends that recently have, I think you're gonna have to make the best decision that you can, based on your trip and your family and your stuff.
Yep.
But I would say that we were underwhelmed.
Yeah, I think that's good to say.
I'm not gonna say don't use them. I think it's an okay form of transportation. I'm not gonna say like.
I think there's potential there. But I
wasn't wowed.
No.
And I hate that. The only wow factor for me was the wraps on the buses.
Right.
That was it.
Yep.
And it was frustrating that they showed up early to our wilderness resort.
Right.
Like that still sticks out to me of like.
And late picking us up. Like to go
when we were leaving MCO, we waited forever. Then they showed up early to pick us up. So, and the driver told us when he got there early and we were dealing with the luggage thing, we weren't really, like, we were trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
He's like, you have time. We can wait. And I'm like thinking, you have 10 other people on this bus who do not want to sit here.
And wait.
Wait. Like, while I appreciate that for us, I am not asking those people to sit here on this bus for another 10 minutes.
Right.
They're expecting to go and pick people up and go to the airport.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, underwhelmed is probably the term that I would say the most. Now, a huge piece of that is the fact that it was so difficult for us to get it changed.
Right. Kind of the customer service part of it was kind of lacking.
Yeah.
So,
you do have to be careful if you are booking them. If you are doing a split stay at all, you have to book it as 2 one-ways rather than as a round trip, so that you can book each individual resort.
Right. Yep.
Guys, that should be technology-wise. You should be able to fix that.
Yeah. Nope. I would love to hear other people's experiences with Sunshine Flyer or Mears Connect.
Yeah.
And I think probably the easiest way to hear that is if they follow us and let us know on Twitter, Instagram at Salute to the Ears.
Yep. We got lots more we're going to be talking about over the next few weeks, guys.
Right.
And I mean, so much from this trip and getting ready for our trip
Another
in
one.
August.
This is by far our fastest turnaround ever to go again. And that one will be for your birthday.
I'm so excited.
And Mickey's Not So Scary.
Mickey's Not So Scary, but I'm super excited this week. Watch on our Twitter and Instagram because this is halfway to the holidays this week.
Oh, absolutely.
So we have that coming up halfway to the holidays. We want to talk about the 2 resorts that we stayed at. We want to talk about new shows, new food,
new rides,
and just what happened on our trip. So follow along and find your joy.
And have a magical week.